All right, so last time we talked about the basics of After Effects, getting in there, creating a composition, making keyframes, doing some easy ease, graph editor stuff. Today we're going to continue doing that, but first we need to do the next stage of our planning for our title card. Last class I said I wanted you to go through that thumbnail sheet and sketch out different thumbnail versions of that. Does anyone not have that today? Obviously you don't because you weren't here. Okay, so everyone has their sheet. Cool. We're going to go through the next stage of that. So you're going to watch me do that up here, and then you'll be able to do that at your station. Before we do that, though, we want to get into this. The way that I do my assignments is you have that submission form in front of you. That submission form is your way to know this is what I want for these assignments. This is what you should be focusing on. If there's any question as to what needs to be turned in, when it's due, all that stuff, it's on this form. When you finish an assignment, where's this class? Oh, right behind that one, there we go. When you finish an assignment, you take that form, you take all your artwork, so that thumbnail sheet, the sheet we're going to go over today, and your submission form, and you put them inside here, staple it together, put it inside here. That way I know your stuff is ready to be graded, and then I can go onto the server, grab your stuff, grade your stuff, and then hand it back to you, okay? So every one of our assignments will have a submission form that will go into your folder. Your folder is a purple one that says 1900 AM, okay? Cool. By week 16, we'll get it down. We'll be good. All right, so we're going to go through this. Don't worry about following along and filling it out as you go. I have a binder up here that will have them all, so at some point today you can come up here, copy the rest of it down if you don't get every single thing, okay? So the purpose of this assignment is to create a title opener. We're making a little bumper that's going to be at the start of each one of our assignments. If you've ever seen any YouTube channels, especially the ones that are more professional, typically at the front of their videos they have some sort of title bumper, something that is significant to their specific channel. And that's something that they would put before every single piece of their work. And so we want to create a very similar thing because obviously if we were GM or Ford or mom and pop shop down the street and we had a online presence, we want to have something that is very significant to ours. It's very much like a logo, but it's animated. At this stage of the class, you may not get every single thing you want out of yours, and that's fine. We're going to do the very basics of it, and you can always revisit it, update it, fix it, tweak it, whatever you want. And that's the idea with it. As you learn more techniques, you can start adding more things into the mix. So, title opener, the due date for this will be 1/28, which if you look at the calendar, remember we're not here this Monday. That's Martin Luther King Day, so we will be here Wednesday, and then it's due the 28th. This assignment shouldn't take that long to do. We'll actually be starting on the 28th, the next assignment, okay? That way we are having this overlap of things so that nobody is ever like finished with one and just kind of sitting around doing nothing. We'll be making basic shapes and using text. We'll be animating using the ease and speed graph just like we talked about last time. We'll add sound effects, so obviously that will be a new thing. We'll render this as a movie, and then obviously we'll keep everything organized. Regardless of what I have on here in future things, rendering as a movie will always be something we do, and organizing will be something we always do. Same thing with using the ease and the speed graph. Those are also things that we will want to do. And I'll also throw on the end of there, so that nobody forgets it, motion blur, or Motino blur. Motiano blur. There we go. Anytime we animate, we should be using ease, we should be using the speed graph, and we should be using motion blur. If you don't have those things in yours, it's very obvious that your animation will not look finished. It won't look as good as it can look, okay? Cool. Further down, what is our turn-in? So our turn-ins should be our artwork that we have. That's what I'm going to go over today. And then, oops, I need a paragraph. And then our thumbnails. So your sketches that you did between last class and this class, that will be the thumbnail part. And then the artwork will be the stuff I go over today, which is the next level of planning. This is where we take something that's this big on the screen, on your paper, and we make it bigger. We make sure that everything's going to work. And then we're also focusing on what colors are we going to use and all that, okay? Your turn-ins for this will be, as far as the project folder, will be everything. So your After Effects file, your sound effects, your whole folder will be turned in together. The movie will be about, I'm going to say 4 to 6 seconds. Okay, that's typically a good amount of time for someone to watch a little title. If it gets longer than that, then some of our animations are going to be longer, or going to be shorter than 6 seconds. So you don't want to have your title being longer than your actual animation. So 4 to 6 is typically a good rule of thumb for that. 30 frames a second, 960 by 540. Where it says your name, everyone can figure out what that means, right? Yeah, good. Our class name is right here. Usually people mix up your name and class name for whatever reason. And then this is 5 points, worth 5 points. Your turn-in date is the date you actually turned it in. So on the due date, when this stuff is due, I take everything off the server at the end of the day. So things are due, they're due at the end of the day. So 11 o'clock at night or 10:55 at night. I grab everything off the server and I put it onto my computer, and then I grab my folder and then I go home. The next day, typically, I'll go through each one of these and look at each one of these submission forms. If I have a submission form, I can grade it. If I don't have a submission form, I don't look at it, okay? And then I go through and I'll put all of these into Canvas. I'll return your sheets to you. And then if you decide that you wanted to fix anything up, you will give me my sheet back. You will check this box to say resubmit for points. And then you will give me the sheet back into the folder, put your stuff back onto the server, and then I can go through and look at it and see if there's anything that needs to be updated, okay? Any comments I give you will be on this sheet. I don't type them into Canvas just because most people don't look at Canvas. If I give you a sheet that says this is what you're missing, then you can see it right there, okay? Questions on that yet? No? Okay. It's a new process, obviously, to most of you because I haven't had you before. Excuse me. But you'll pick it up pretty quick. You're young kids. All right. All right. So on Canvas, it's there. There's a planned animation AI file. You'll download that file and you'll open that in Illustrator. Don't do that now, you'll do that after. Winter semester, where are you at? There you go. Animation. Okay, and this is basically just an enlarged version of those little thumbnails, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to go through and you're going to pick which thumbnail is going to work the best for your animation. If you have questions about that, I need to see it. Before you start animating, I need to see this sheet so that I can say, yes, this is going to work, or no, this is not going to work, okay? So looking at your thumbnails, you're going to look at one and say, okay, I like this layout here. So then in Illustrator, you'll just start to build it. Most people, especially at this stage, are typically more comfortable with Illustrator because you've had an entire class on it, where you haven't had an entire class on After Effects yet. Illustrator also has a lot more alignment tools for how to set things up and make sure everything's aligned perfectly, where After Effects doesn't. So we want to set up everything in here as to like this is what it's going to look like, and then we can bring that into After Effects and then rebuild it inside there. Okay, so I'm going to go with one of my designs here, and I'm just laying out what I want it to look like. So I'm going to have, let's say, a bar on this side. I'm going to have 3 elements. Remember, you're going to have your name. So Sean Sarcona. You're going to have the assignment number. So this is 01. And then we will have the assignment name, which in this case will be title card. Okay, so in this one that I have that. So I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put this there and that there. I actually like it maybe like that better. Now your thumbnail may change based off of what you're getting as far as like the bigger screen. Your stuff might modify and change and tweak a bit. Oops. I'll put that there, put this here. Come on. Back, yes. Okay. I probably should lock this bottom layer so I don't accidentally screw that up. All right, cool. So there's the gist of it right now, okay? Nothing's been formatted, just kind of like placeholders still. Each one of these things will be changed. Bless you. We will have assignment 2, assignment 3, assignment 4. So obviously we need to make sure that whatever spacing we set up here is going to work for that. So here's 3, there's 4. Obviously we don't have anything crazy. If we had like that many assignments, you can see how it would run off the screen, okay? But as we're going to stay pretty much under 8 assignments, so we should be good under 10. So we should be good with the 2 digits there. Where we get to title card, this one will definitely change. This one, the longest one that we have, is page transitions. And you can see, obviously, with page transitions, that's going to run off the screen. Because all these things will be animated, we have to keep that in mind. Because if I were to keep it like this, and then let's say that I animated this, starting here off screen, and then coming onto screen, the second I change that to a bigger word, now it's not going to be coming onto screen the same way because that bigger word is not going to be lined up the same way, okay? If I change this to page transitions, you can see how much further I'm going to have to drag this down in order to get it off the screen, and then where this would end up, this doesn't even fit on this screen, right? So that's stuff that we have to be aware of is, as we do this, what's the biggest thing that we have, what's the smallest thing, and trying to find something that makes sense. The goal when we create this title sequence is that it's reusable. We can basically just go into our title card, change this word, change this number, and everything else will update, okay? We don't have to go back and tweak the animation or do a whole bunch of extra work on top of it or rebuild the title card. Everything just kind of works together, okay? So that's stuff that you want to be aware of. We also want to be aware that we never want to do this, which is stretch our text out. Okay, that looks horrible. It's very obvious you've stretched the text out, even if you don't think so. It is obvious. Okay, if you stretch it, make sure it's uniformly stretched. So I'm going to just kind of line this up like so, like that is good. Okay, and then I'm going to go through and start to pick some fonts that I think might look pretty good in here. If you have a font that you're going to use from your home computer, something you downloaded, make sure you bring that font with you. If you have a Mac, some Mac fonts will not work on PCs, okay, so just be aware of that. Same thing here, if you're working on a Mac at home and you have a font here, that font may not transfer when you go home, okay? So try to find something that works on both computers. If it's an Adobe font, typically you'd be able to find that on both of them. Or if it's something like, you know, these are some random ones that I downloaded at some point. Dripping Marker is available to download for PC and Mac. Not that you'd want to use something like that. So I'm going to keep this just really boring and go with like Helvetica. And that one. And if you don't want to put your whole name, you can just put your last name. So I'm just going to put Sarcona. I think that probably balances it a little bit better. Oops. And I'm looking at alignment, right where my page transitions is. You can see that it's like hanging down here. This should be probably up a little bit more. Oops, down a little bit more. That's good. Looking at the weight of this, I chose a thinner font here, a bolder font there, and this line is kind of like in the middle of those fonts. I can see what it looks like without that. I can turn these off and just look and see, you know, do I like the way that looks? Yeah, that looks cool. And then my name, obviously I want my name to kind of be in sync with all the other ones, so I'll put that there. And character, small caps, there we go. And maybe my name's just a little bit bigger. Okay. Now I'm trying to keep all of my text within this inner box here. That inner box is your title safe area. So if you were to have projected this like on this projector, it might actually cut off part of your text if it's right on the edge. And that would obviously be a bad thing. You spend all this time doing an animation, you go and you present it somewhere, and for whatever reason, this system and that projector don't talk nicely to each other, and part of your text is cut off. You might see that on TVs when they have like scrolling text at the bottom where it's like getting cut off and you can't read it. It's really annoying. So you want to make sure everything is nice and lined up. This still needs to come down just a little bit there. There we go. I wonder if I can make this even bigger. All right, that should be good enough for now. All right. Cool. We also have to think about background. We may have some sort of background color that's in there, some background element. Instead of always leaving everything black as the background, it might be nice to have like a splash of color in there. Looking at what the colors are going to be, I showed this, I think, last class. Adobe has that color scheme generator. And so you can go here and you can go through the themes and try to pick out a color theme that looks good. Now obviously you can do your own color themes, but the idea is that it should look good. Also, because it's on here doesn't mean it's like a good color theme, it just means it's a color theme that somebody created for some specific reason. Something like this would probably be maybe like too much color on your screen. Something like this might be a little bit too boring in color schemes. So you may want to experiment with different colors to see what's going to look good. So I'm going to go with this. I like these colors here. You can download it, but I don't like to download stuff, so I just like to throw it off to that screen. And I'm just going to create, oops, not create, I'm going to click, so I need to unlock this. I'm going to click this box, I'm going to click that eyedropper, and then maybe I'm not going to click the eyedropper. I'm going to go here and I'm going to save this apparently. I didn't think I would have to save it. No, that. Oh. I'm going to do this a different way. You can download it, figure it out. You know, I'm going to do a print screen. That's what I want to do. There we go. I just want the colors. That's all I need. And then in my print screen, if you've never used it, OneNote is an awesome tool. It comes with this really cool snipping tool where you hit print screen and then you can make a selection and then you can copy it and then you can go into your document and then just paste it and then there it is. Like there's not a whole lot of guesswork to it. Mac has like snipping. It's kind of like that, but I think this is better. Cool. All right, so these things here are the different colors that we'll be using in our stuff. So in this one, I'm going to use, let's say, my background color will be this yellowy color. Actually, I like the green color there. And then I'm just going to sample all these other colors here. Oops. I did miss yellow, yeah. Like something's wrong. What's going on? Even that one, that looks a little bit too the same. Okay, so I might look at these together now in this format and say, maybe I don't like one of these colors, or maybe I can pick a different color that's going to work better for me. So let's say in this one, I don't want that one, so I'm just actually going to make that one black. Okay, and the same thing here, I may not want both of these colors because they're kind of at the same like boldness of it. Maybe one of these I would just make white. That's not white. There we go. Okay, so I might go with some sort of color scheme like this. It's only 3 main colors, and then the other 2 colors are black and white, and that's fine. The idea here is that I'm getting colors that I think are going to work together well so that I can use that to do the colors in the top. So there's one. I can then delete this, and then I'll go find another one. And typically when you do something, especially as a beginner, try to go with something different. Don't do like this color scheme and then do something in a very similar color scheme but just different shades of it, right? So try to do something that's like on the other side of the spectrum. Like this one here, I think it's very similar to that one. Is that the same one I picked? It is, yeah. It is the same one. It's just in a different spot. Yeah, I guess this one was it, right? That's very similar to that one too. I don't know, I'm just drawn to those colors apparently. Let's go with that one, this one. That's a different color. This one is similar. It is similar, holy cow. All right, I need to get my colors up there. There we go. This one's far enough away. All right, so do the same thing. We'll do a little copy. And paste it, drop that down. All right, so same thing, like what's going to be my background color. In this one, I'll go with the dark background color. And then maybe I'll go with the blue here, like that. And that one. Yeah, I think I'm going to need something just a little more punchier. So I'm going to go with a white. There too. Okay. All right, so there's my 2 color schemes here, and then I could kind of look at both of these side by side and see which one do I want to go with. At any point I can change these. The idea is just planning, just like in Illustrator, what is going to look good. We also have our font selection down here, and this will help you out immensely when you start figuring out like, oh, what fonts am I going to be using for this? So obviously I use Helvetica. That's what this main font is here. And then you don't have to have like a crazy separate font. I don't like how close that is to the Sarcona. Let's just scale that down some. Good enough. If you did use another font, use a completely separate font, make sure they're not the same kind of fonts. Like this is called a sans serif font, or a serif. Yeah. So you'd want to pick something that is opposite of that. So I wouldn't want to go with like this scripty font here and that scripty font there. Those are too close to the same kind of thing. Same thing with this one, or like this one and Helvetica. Not that they're the same, but they're very similar together, okay? So you want to pick fonts that are different enough that they don't look like they're part of the same family or trying to do the same thing, okay? Typically you want to pick, if you're going to do two separate fonts, a serif and a sans serif, or fonts that are in the same family, just different weights. So this one down here is actually the other Helvetica, which is this one. So those are my two fonts that I have. And I will just verify, yes, that's what I used, okay. All right, so now I can start adding some background stuff. So I'm going to lock this background layer. I'm going to throw in a background swatch here. And I'm just lining it up to that box. If you don't remember in your hotkeys, you can go up here, transform or arrange, send to back, and here's all the hotkeys next to it. Obviously these are on top of it, so I needed to move it behind it so that I could see it. So now I see, there it is. Here's my font. Maybe I'll pick this for yellow and say, that might look cool. And then go here and make that blue. And maybe make that white. And say, no, the white doesn't work good that small. So let's make this one that one, like that. And then make this one white. All right, so that looks pretty cool like that. So these tie together. Okay. So then I could say, okay, I like the way that looks, or I don't like the way that looks, whatever. If I decided I wanted to change it, I could grab everything on here. Come on, grab everything on here, make a new layer, copy it, and then paste it in place. Okay, so I basically have two copies. And then I'm just going to lock the bottom layer and then just change the colors on this and just see what it looks like. Here's a darker color. This is a brighter color there. Yeah, that might look cool like that. Yeah, maybe that's a little bit too dark all over the place. So let's go here, maybe make that white. Okay, now keep in mind this will be bigger, right? This will fit on our screen more, so something like that. My colors look a little bit different. I just moved my screen. There you go. All right, so obviously two different color schemes, that one and that one. And then I could pick which one do I like better. You can change things in After Effects, so you're not locked to it, but it's just, again, the planning phase gives you those options of these things. If you're going to go to a client and you're going to show them, here's what we're thinking, they may like one color scheme over another color scheme, okay? So you want to obviously have options to say, this is going to work, or this is what we're thinking, or this is why we choose these colors. All right, cool. So now that I have that, I actually think I like the purple better. So I'm going to stick with the purple-y color here, or the blue. It looked purple on my screen a second ago. Now that I have this, I'm going to make another new layer here, and I'm going to set up how I want these things to animate in, okay? So every element that I have on this screen has to animate into the screen. So how do I get these things on the screen is something that we have to figure out. So in this case, let's say I have this bar here. I want the bar to come up, and I want the 0, 1 to come out of one side, and I want page transitions to come out of the other side, okay? And then maybe my name just kind of like falls down, okay? That might be how I animate it. So I'm going to go here. Pen tool. Let me zoom in. Let me pick a different color, make sure everything's selected. Oops. There we go. So this is going to animate outward. Let me grab my stroke here and put an arrow on this. the other way. No. Yes, there we go. Okay, so this page transition is going to come out here like this. This is going to come out there like that. And that's going to move up. And then this is going to move down. Okay, so now that I have, oops, I didn't copy it. There we go. So now that I have all of these elements lined up there, oops, I forgot the background. So the background is just going to slide up. Okay. So I have to figure out then what order are these things going to come in. We would never have everything come in at one time because it would just seem too static, too boring. The person viewing it, they only have that 3 to 6 seconds or 4 to 6 seconds. They don't have the time to review everything as it comes in all at once. We want to guide them so that they can see this, then this, then this, then this, then that. So the first thing that I want to come in is my background. So I'm just going to put 0, 1 here. Okay, and then number 2, I think I want this to come in. And then number 3 will be my line. And then this will be number 4. And that will be number 5. And I'm going to go ahead and pick different fonts because those are too thin to see. Okay, so now I have a plan for where these things are going to come in, how they're going to come in. In this case, all they're doing is moving into the screen. We could also have them rotate. You could have something fall in angularly and rotate into position. Let's say instead of the 1 just coming straight out from where that line is, what if it rotates and then like falls into place, okay? So maybe instead of it going straight like this, I'll go and create a circle. I will delete this point here. I'll delete that point there. I'll go back to my stroke. I'll go back to my arrow. There we go. And then I could use that arrow instead, indicating that that 0 would then rotate into the screen instead of just sliding out from behind it, okay? It could also scale up. Let's say I'm going to scale it from nothing. Let's say my name here, I'll scale that. So instead of it being a straight line, maybe I would do just a different line. Like that. So it's going to scale up this way, and that way I'll know that it's going to start off basically nothing and then scale up to get bigger. So this could rotate, this could come down, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't want to do that. I like it coming out straight. So I'm just going to put those back to where they were. Also notice the different directions that I went with things. So number 1 is going to move upward. Number 2 is going to move downward. Number 3 is going to move upward. Number 4 is going to go to the right. And number 5 is going to go to the left. Okay? That's intentionally done so that it flows a bit better. So the viewer's eye is going to go up, and then it's going to go down, and then it's going to go up, and then it's going to go down. So they can see that their eye is moving. It's not like up, and then they have to jump back down again to see something else come back up, then they have to jump back down again to see something come up. I'm exaggerating it, but that's what you don't want to do, okay? You ever seen a slideshow where they zoom into a picture and zoom into a picture and zoom in for like ever. It's like always zooming in. And then there's one random one that zooms out. It's like, well, it's kind of jarring now because it doesn't flow the right way. Same thing here. We're controlling the flow of the viewer's eye for our animation. Cool. So we'll put our name up here. Title card. Make it a bigger font. I don't know why Photoshop has the slider. I would love to have the slider in here where I could just change the font size. If anyone ever works at Adobe, fix that. And then obviously your name, Sean Sarkona. There we go. Cool. We'll make it look presentable. Awesome. Okay. So now I'm just going to save this as a title card. Animation. All right, so where should I save this to? Based off of what we did last class at the pretty much first thing we did. What was that? My P drive folder, right? 1900A. Which folder? Make a new one, right? Because we have a new project, so we want to have a new folder. P drive, 1900A. Copy the project name 1, because that's our template. This will be my title card. This will be my title card. And reference or artwork. You can put it in either one of those, really. I'll put it inside my artwork folder. Title card, artwork, title card, yes. Okay, so then once I have this, once you have this, you show it to me. I make sure that it's cool. If you didn't get it finished, let's say today, you would show it to me before next class. You would email it to me tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, whatever it is. And then I could approve it via email or whatever. Once you have it, then you're going to go into After Effects. You're going to bring it in and then just start rebuilding it. And that might seem kind of silly, but that's just how we're working with it. Eventually, we'll get into how do we bring stuff back and forth. I just want this project to be really one that's kind of self-contained, that doesn't have a whole bunch of stuff connected to it that we need to have. So I'm going to bring in that piece of artwork. To bring in anything in After Effects, you just double click in this project window and then you go find it. D drive, P drive, there. Oops, I imported my project. I didn't want to import a project. I don't know what I was doing there. Artwork, there it is. And then I'm just going to hit import. And I'm just going to say yes, just exactly as is. And then I'm going to make a new composition, 960, 540, just like your cheat sheet. And I'll make it 6 seconds. And then I just drop this into my view. I can't see any of this, but that's fine because what I really need to focus on is just that area. So I'm just going to scale it up proportionately until it all fits into the screen. Okay, now once it's there, I'll lock it, and then I'm just going to go through. The text tools are very similar to Illustrator, so I would use my text tool. Type in 01. Make sure I have that font chosen. So that was Helvetica Regular. Come on. And see, we have the slider here. Doesn't seem too difficult to have. And I'm going to slide it over for a second just so I can eye drop that color. There we go. Now it's on top of it. Okay, and then I can just duplicate this, scoot it down here, type in Sarcona, shrink it down, switch back to my selection tool, small caps, yes. And this is white. Now I'm writing page transitions here just so I can line it up, but the actual word would be title card. I can rotate down here, just type in -90. That's that font. It was that one there, Oh, I have it on small caps still, that's why. Oops. Oh, medium, there we go. That's why I have it on. Perfect. And then the last thing I need is just a line. So there is a pen tool in here, so I can just click on the pen tool, click on a point, hold down shift, click on another point, and then just switch back to my arrow tool and then control all my stuff like stroke weight and whatever else up here. And that stroke was just black, so I'll color that black. Okay, and then for the background, I'll just go to a new solid. That's what we played with last time. I'll make it the composition size, and I'll eyedrop that color. And then put it below there. So now I should have a pretty good representation of this one in this one. And that's white, yes. This is white. Pink, blue, yes, yes, yes. Oops. Cool. So now I can just delete that card out because I don't need that anymore. I can delete this. And then I can save my project as is. Okay, so this is before any animation stuff. This will probably take you the rest of class to get into Illustrator, line up all your stuff, and then get it into After Effects. Once we're here, it's just simply a matter of animating it. That part is the easiest part. Everything else we've done up to this point is just planning, planning, planning. That's the difficult part. Here, if I'm animating this, everything is set up. So this here is going to come that way. This is going to come from this way. This is going to come from the bottom. Yes. This is going to come from the top. And this is going to come from the bottom. Okay? Ignore that those are just sitting there right now. So I'm going to go to the background, go to its position, and set a keyframe, just like we did last time. You don't know how long it's going to take, so I'm going to say 10 frames. And then I'll just move this back into position. There we go. And so now that animates in. And then the next one was going to be my name, so I'll go to position for that. Click on the keyframe, go up another 10 frames. I just watch this. And then I just bring it back down. Now, you may catch on here that because my artwork has now disappeared, I don't know where that exact spot is. I don't know where the exact line is where I had all my stuff. Same thing with this 0-1, same thing with page transitions. The line is an obvious one because it'll just cover the entire thing. But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm animating it from the start to the end. Let's put everything back where it was there. If I go here to the middle, I know like at 2 seconds everything should be there, and I just set a position keyframe for each one of these things. Then if I were to go back to here and then just move things where I think they should be at the start of it, And again, ignore the fact that they're hiding on the screen. Now when I hit play, you'll see how they all come into the screen. Okay, and so just like we did last time, if we needed to offset something, we can just grab the keyframes and move the keyframes. So that should happen first, then my name, then the line, then 0, 1, which is right there, and then page transition, which is there. Okay, so here's the animation. I animated that line backwards, didn't I? Yes, I did. All right, line, you will get moved down to the bottom. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. Up, down, up, right, left. Cool. All right. So besides the 0, 1 and page transition, what do I need to fix in here? What was that? The fact that we see everything besides those two. How about the animation? Bland. So what do I need to do to spice it up? Yep, ease in, ease out, right? On everything. Whenever you animate something, because everything's going to be the same thing, everything's going to be eased in, eased out, whatever, you can do it at the start of it, you can do it at the end of it, whenever you want to. You can marquee all the keyframes at once and do ease in and ease out. Okay, how's that? Let me jump back to this. That line there, ease in, right? Ease, and then speed graph. Okay, so same thing. I have to decide, where is my speed going to be? Is it going to be at the start of it? Is it going to be at the end of it? Do I want to animate fast in, or do I want to animate slow in and then go fast? How do I want to do that? And again, there's no rule for it. It's just see what's going to work. So I'm going to go to this position, go to the graph editor, and I think with this one I'm going to go slow and then fast. Okay, and that's going to be pretty much the same thing for all of these. Actually, maybe my 0, 1, maybe these ones will go the other way. Because these are like the big elements, so maybe they'll go kind of fast at the beginning and then slower. My name can go fast at the end. My page transition will go fast at the beginning. My line will go fast at the end. Okay, I'll turn that off. Let's watch it again. There we go. Okay. So it kind of works. All right. Now, it already bothers me, but we need to get rid of these 0, 1 and page transition thing. That's like weird how those are on the screen still, okay? So what we're going to do is, this is a new thing. So everything that we've done up to this point is pretty much stuff that we already know, okay, or already have learned at some point. The Illustrator stuff, you know Illustrator, or at least Photoshop enough to know Illustrator stuff. Importing it, obviously that was a new thing. All the animation stuff is the same exact animation stuff we did last time. There's nothing different about what we just did, okay? This is obviously something new. I need to create basically a clipping mask. You remember clipping mask from Illustrator class? You have a shape, and whatever's inside that shape is visible, and when it goes outside that shape, it's not visible anymore, okay, or it's hidden. So that's what I want to do. So I'm going to go up here to this rectangle tool, make sure nothing is clicked, and I'm going to create a shape right here. Doesn't matter what color it is, it just needs to be a big shape. I'm going to put this shape right above the 0, 1. Then I'm going to duplicate it and put it right above page transitions. this is going to be my clipping mask. This is what's going to be the thing that says, this is what I want you to hide, or this is what I want you to show. This area here where it says toggle switches and modes, this allows us to access this thing called a track mat. In Illustrator it's called a clipping mask, and InDesign it's called a clipping mask. In After Effects it's called a track mat, okay? And basically what it's going to do is it's going to use that shape as transparency, okay? So I'm going to go to, let's turn these off here first so we can see it, okay? So I'm going to go to the 0, 1. I'm going to go to the track mat, and it's going to give me 4 options. Alpha matte, alpha inverted. Luma matte, luma inverted. So an alpha matte is the alpha, which is basically like a transparency channel or transparency information on an item. If I turned everything off, turn that off, and I looked at the alpha right here, the transparency, you'll see that it's transparent right here, but it's opaque right there, okay? So that item is 100% opaque. Let me turn those things back on again. So I'm going to go down here to my 0, 1 and say, hey, the layer above it, which is why we put it above it, I want to use the alpha of the layer above it. So now when that gets clicked on, you'll see the layer above it gets turned off. The visibility is turned off on it. But now when I rewind this, look how it goes right into it. Okay? So when it's outside that box, it's invisible. When it's inside the box, it's visible. Okay? So now let's do the same thing to page transitions. Now instead of me drawing a box on top of where page transition is, I can use the same box and instead of just choosing alpha, I can say alpha inverted, meaning use the opposite. So when it's outside the box, it's visible. When it's inside the box, it's invisible. Okay? So now we rewind. Let me turn my transparency off for a second. And hey, where'd my name go? There it is. Okay, remember the first time it loads, it might go quicker. And then we'll watch again. Cool. So now we can see how this is flowing. We can see the animation obviously a little bit more cleaner than before. Now I do have an issue still with the speed of things. Even though we've done our easy ease, even though we've done our speed graph, it still doesn't feel like it's flowing very good. What I want to happen is I want it to feel a little bit more connected. I'm kind of like waiting on things, like some things don't feel like they're hitting at the right time. So I'm going to go into my keyframes here. One of your hotkeys, it's on your hotkey list, is U. If I grab all my layers with Control A, hit U, it shows me only my keyframes, and I don't have to open up each one of those areas to see it, okay? So then I can look at all the keyframes and see how things are laying out. So this is 15 frames for each thing, so that's probably maybe too long. I'm going to grab the last keyframe of each one of these. You can do it individually, but if you want to work quicker, I'm going to set this back to about 10 frames. And then slide that over, and you see how it slides all of them over at the same time. And then I'm going to grab all of these and just start moving them so they're exactly aligned. Oops. Okay, so now let's look at that and see if it looks any better. Let me find my playback here, preview. Okay, so it feels good at the start of it. Those two big items, page transitions and 0, 1, those need a little bit more time on the screen, okay? Just like when you design something, you have that element called contrast, where things should be dark and light, thick and thin. Same thing in animation. You shouldn't have everything always be at the same exact speed. You typically want to have contrast in there. Some things will go fast, some things will go slow. So here, the first 3 elements going fast, that's fine, but these 2 big ones, I want those to go slower. So I'm going to grab those 2 elements and do that to it. Before I do, though, let's look at where the keyframes are at. Notice how my keyframes are kind of staggered in my list. It's on the left, it's on the right, it's on the left, it's on the right, it's on the left again. That's kind of confusing to look at. It would be great if I could just see basically like a stair-stepping, like this happens, then this happens, then this happens, then that happens. So I'm going to just reorganize some of my layers here. So this will actually be here. Yep. And then this, which is my line, will actually be there above Sarcona. There we go. So that feels a little bit easier to look at. I can see the bottom thing is going to animate, then the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. So let's take these last 2 elements here and just give them a little bit more time. Okay, I'll pull this one a little bit to the end. There we go. And I'm going to set the work area of that too and keep looping it. All right, I need a little bit of a break right in the middle. So I'm just going to go drag this over a couple frames. So you can see how many times I'm watching this, just trying to make sure that it's feeling right. You can't spend enough time screwing around with these things to make sure that it looks good. The more time you spend looking at it and analyzing it and trying to figure out what's going to work, the better your animation can be. Not always will be, but can be. Okay, so the first 3 things pop in. They're small things, they're quick things. That pops up, this pops in, that flies up. And then it's more of like a smooth 0-1 coming out. And because of the 0-1 going fast at the beginning and slow, we actually have a little bit more time to process it. And then page transition comes out fast and then goes slow. Okay. Now at some point, all the stuff has to go back together and go away. It has to disappear. This is 2 seconds or 2:15 worth of animation. If I go up to, let's say, I don't know, about there seems good. Now I'm going to start animating it backwards so that it goes off the screen. The same order that I put it on the screen, it's going to go off the screen backwards. Okay? So I'm going to start with my page transition word. And then I'm going to go with my position here for the 0-1, then this one, then this one, then that one. I use these diamonds just to say this is where you're going to be. It comes into the screen, it stays, and it goes off the screen. Every time I have to tell it where I want it to move, I need a keyframe. So start here, go there, then stay, stay, stay. Now at this point, you're going to move off the screen. So then it goes back here, and then it literally just reverses the animation, just tucks itself back into where it was. So that one's going to go there, this one's going to go here. This is a line, oops, wrong one. Now I could have these go the other way. So the line started going up, I'm going to continue the line going up. My name started going down, so I'm going to move my name down. And then the background started going up, so I'll have to go up. Okay, now that same stairway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that same stairway this way, now it's going to be reversed on this side. Okay, so I just go here and move these over. Then I go, oops, here and move that over. Then I go here and move that over. Now I might get to the end. This is 6 seconds, and now I'm like running out of space. So maybe I need to start condensing some of these keyframes. These are way too far apart. Let's fix that. There you go. let's see what time we're at. This is 3:24, so 10 frames after should be 4:04. 4:04. There we go. And if this one's at 4:04, then 4:14 should be the next keyframe there. It's weird to think, but it's very analytical. If you just look at the numbers of these and kind of line them up, it makes your animation flow a lot better. $5.14. Okay, so now we'll look at the whole thing. So it comes in, it stays, and then goes away. So you can see once you have that design part, the animation part literally takes no time at all. It's just a matter of lining up where you want things to happen. Cool. So what's the last one I have to add to this? Motion blur. So we turn that off. Motion blur all these. Motion blur this. And then let's take a look at it and see. Just go to fit. Cool. So that seems to work well enough for what we're doing. Now, there is going to be an issue. Here's page transitions. Title card. Or maybe not. I assume that I did not have that centered correctly, so it wouldn't come out. But yeah, it looks good. If this was left justified, as I typed, it would have gone the other way. Like that. So if this was page transitions, it would have been way over here and not there, and I would have to have adjusted it. But it's centered, so it was good. Cool. I'm going to rename this real quick. Drop that into my compositions. Save it. Cool. So that's going to be the start of that. We will still have other stuff. We will have to do some finishing effects on it. We will still have to add sound effects and whatever else. I'm not going to do that today. Everything here is exactly what we've done before. If we needed to rotate something, we would have just rotated it. If we needed to scale something, we would have scaled it. Okay. The other one's anchor point and yeah, anchor point's doing the other one there. Or opacity. We could have used opacity, but that's kind of a boring effect in this case. Okay, so rotation would work good. Just so you can see how it would work. Oops, let me hide my 0, 1 here, or just duplicate it. And get rid of the keyframes. Oh, I think I still have, yep, this is still track matted, there we go. Okay, so if I'm going to use this as a rotation, I need to control where it's going to rotate from. So if I were to hit anchor point, this is where I could set the anchor point for it. So I can move the anchor point down to this spot here and this spot there. And then move this up to where I want to rotate from. And now as it rotates, I can have it just rotate there or come in from this side. Okay, and I'll just duplicate my track mat so that we can see the whole effect. Okay, and you can combine these two. So if you wanted to like scale and rotate for whatever reason, you can do that. So I can scale this from 0 to 100. Make sure they're lined up, make sure they're maybe a little bit closer together. Right? So you could do stuff like that too, or maybe just scaling it from that corner would be optimal. So turn off the rotation and you'll see how it then scales from that corner. Or it could scale up from a line or scale up from wherever. Same thing with the background, that could have scaled in. If I had 2 background colors or 3 background colors or however I want to do that, it's the same process. Don't try to complicate the animation part by trying to overthink it. It really is just like, I want it here at this frame, here at this frame, here at this frame. Once that's set up and you see it, then you can go back and start tweaking what the animation looks like, how fast things are coming in, where the keyframes are. You will run into stumbling blocks, you will run into issues. That's all part of it. That's all part of the fun. If you do, you figure it out, I figure it out, whatever it is, we work together and we get to that point where you understand how to do these kinds of things, okay? So your first step is to take your sketch, bring in Illustrator, lay out what you want that to look like this, bring that into After Effects to lay out what you want the design to look like, pay attention to your colors, pay attention to any distortion stuff. Don't waste your time. What I mean by that is, if I were to have brought this in and I just went like this, and then I laid it out, let's say like that, and it's all distorted, I might spend an hour relaying this out and it looks like crap because it's distorted. Same thing in Illustrator, if I would have gone through and grabbed my text here and like distorted it like that, then it would look gross and we wouldn't want something like that. Or if I picked horrible colors, then now I have to go back and pick different colors, okay? So just be aware that you have the ability to do these things. The tools are out there. It's just a matter of you accessing them and obviously applying them, okay? Questions yet?